Welcome to another episode of the Spiritual Investor Podcast. This is me being on the other side of spending a month in Costa Rica. This is also me being on the other side of really looking at myself in a whole new way. And I have a feeling that this episode is going to parallel that. I think it's also being carried by the messages that I receive from you. You're in my head. That podcast was recorded for me. And hopefully you'll be able to take something from this. Really, if you can get one thing from it, you've heard me say that, then all we're trying to do here is trying to bridge the worlds. And so if there is one thing that feels like truth for you and it can help you and expand your world, then it's a win-win situation, right? Thank you. I'll say that now. Thank you for being open. Something that I'm sort of looking at in my own life now is, I have these periods of time where I go on adventures, and, I planned on staying 7 days in Costa Rica, and I ended up being there 28. So I have these periods of time that it's almost like I'm leading a different life. And then I have the time at home and the work and the horses and all of it, right? I have realized that I have been doing the exact same thing that I teach people not to do, which is compartmentalize. Because what that has done is it causes me to look back on my time in Costa Rica and detract from it and say, oh, I lost my focus. But there is no such thing as losing focus when you are living in, I guess, the world that I've created. And the world that I've created, which I call the SI method, which I live and I teach, and actually by me living it and breaking it, I teach it even better, is that I realize that there's no such thing as loss of focus because there's no such thing as lack, right? What that phase is it's breaking the structure. And so while we're going through breaking the structure, there is no way that we can't be in contrast. And we can either see it as an equal part of the journey, and then we're just living one life, or we can see it as being better or worse than. Now, I can look at the circumstances and go, well, these were the things that I said I was going to continue doing when I was on vacation. And these are the things that I did not do, and prioritizing some of my needs, like waking up early and doing my workouts and things like that. A lot of that didn't happen. But learning to surf and meeting amazing people and night walks and restaurants and all of that happened, right? And so what I find myself realizing now, and if any of you follow Alan Watts, this is, ties in with his teachings, which is the state of being that is the openness in a situation like this would be, I know that I've already won. So whatever it is I'm looking to achieve, I know I've already won, meaning that I am bigger and more open on the other side of breaking the structure. And yes, a lot of even the breaking the structure, even in Costa Rica, is still me going through childhood trauma stuff. But I right now am creating my own evidence in the now. And so am I the version of me who's already gone through that and who's already won? Or am I the version who is looking at having gone through that? And so all we're doing here in life is we're choosing, and we live in parallel realities. And with my choice, I am pulling down a parallel reality. Now, I was standing in the kitchen yesterday morning because I also had family in town, and then it was like everybody left. And then I'm like kind of in this state of, okay, wait, I feel like I was spit out from one planet and like dropped onto another. And I could feel myself like slipping down the emotional slide of, holy shit, is this like, it felt like a restart. It felt like a loss. It felt like it was, I got a moment of overwhelm where I'm like, shit, there's so much to do. I can't do it. Right. And I caught it and I caught, okay, I can either be there or I can be powerful and alive. Or I could be in the place that my deep knowing is, which is all of this is perfectly designed. Everything, all the polarity that happened in Costa Rica, which I jumped on Instagram. Some of you saw that. I did the I'm a hot mess video, right? I get to now sidestep any, I could even say regret. I could say lack of focus. I could say I need to do it different, even because different, what is that? That's better. I can sidestep all of that because I know I'm at my most powerful place. And the most exciting thing is what happens on the other side of breaking the structure is then you're on the flip side of the coin, which is money neutrality. Money is a vehicle, and money neutrality is the greatest opening to money. It's the void. But it is your path getting there. You'll get money along the way, but it is your path getting there, your greater consciousness, that is actually the priceless part of it. So it's ironic that it's called money neutrality, because it does mean that you are more open and you will receive more physical money. But in reality, what it really means is that money is an exchange of abundance. And so as we open and become more magnetic, we receive all types of abundance. So money neutrality is, it's the top of a mountain. And you don't get there, but it gives you a place to walk through. And so part of this is any type of regret or lack of focus or anything like that, overwhelm. I sidestep that because I don't want the slowing down of time. And that's what keeps me in time. And so what happens is every time I sidestep it, my standards are raised. Like I can feel my own truth now as being a higher standard than it was before I went to Costa Rica. Even just, my team, they said, can you write a social media caption for, we've got some photos and video for Costa Rica. And I thought, yeah, I'll do that. Well, I didn't get to it. And then they sent one that was written, it was written by ChatGPT, but it was based on something that I had done that talked about Costa Rica. Well, I looked at it and I go, I can't. Like, my standard is too high. Not having anything to do with ChatGPT or anything like that, although that plays into it. Let me explain this. My standard is too high. Like Costa Rica for me was a life-shifting trip. And so now the standard, anything I write about it has to be at that same energetic level. Because the way that I live my life is I'm constantly calibrating to a different standard. And I'm not always able to bring that standard into every aspect of my life. In fact, there are certain areas of my life where I'm still that kid on the tricycle learning, but I'm always looking at that. I'm always drawing it to that standard. And so going back to this, the trip set a standard. So anything written about the trip is at that standard, that same energetic level. And anything I do now is at that energetic level. We are open for enrollment for the next mastermind, and many of you have joined. And we have a lot of applications right now, and we have a lot of calls booked with people wanting to ask questions and talk with the team. It is going to be the best mastermind that's ever been in history of the spiritual investor. And I know I say that every time, but the mastermind runs in parallel with the opening in my life because it's so intimate. And it's all about being on the frequency, whether it's a person or a structure or a value system, way of being. That's really all this comes down to, is being on the frequency and then spending more. It's not time. It is an energetic, quantitative package that we really don't even have language for within that frequency, so that you can become the self-expression of that. And the reason that you become the self-expression of it is because the opportunities that are available to you on that frequency that you get to live into. So when you're on a certain frequency, which these frequencies rise with the calibration of love, because there's only love, so the frequencies diminish as lack of love. And when I say diminish, they're actually not even in any higher order or lower order, right? It really has more to do with the accessibility of it. And so what we do is we look at our circumstances, and because we've been conditioned to say circumstances are good or bad, we pull ourselves to a frequency representative of our conditioning, which is the illusion, because the circumstances aren't good or bad. The circumstances are what you've created. And so everything magical and, oh my God, I can't believe this, that happened in Costa Rica, all being my creation, the more it's my creation, the closer it is to me, and the more I see it as part of the design, the more the past is actually not a part of me. Because when I accept something as me, and it is me, and it is like merged with me, then I don't need to keep analyzing it anymore. And so that is how I bypass the slowing down of time, which is the same thing as how I live outside of time. And I know that we're all humans, and we're all looking for evidence. And so the difference in the new world paradigm and the old world paradigm is that you're looking for evidence in the physical world. And many of you are looking for evidence like emotional reassurance, which can then turn into the physical world with you leaving relationships and moving around and saying things and not saying things. When I am willing to create my world as an invite, and I am willing for the evidence to step in, then new evidence can come in because I don't have an attachment to it. And not having an attachment, which would be the same thing as detachment, it isn't like you're pulling something. Okay, I have this thing that I'm attached to, and I need to train myself to not be attached to it. No, because you're going to be more attached to it. It's simply the realization that that thing doesn't own you. It has no jurisdiction over you until you say it does. And so your attachment becomes the same thing as your agreement. And we can understand when we see things outside of us happening. But if we're not listening and tapping in, and if we're not actually in the worlds of what's out here that we want to become the self-expression of, then we're just recreating over here. And it's just going to be the same thing over and over all the time. At one point, a fish got out of the sea and became a lizard. And there was this awkwardness to that, right? But there was something that caused that to happen. There was a bridge. Now, for us, that bridge, we call it intuition. And that's just a way to use our language for even partially what I'm even talking about. Right now, unless it goes through the other senses, smell, taste, all of that. Like we feel like it's not real. But at some point there was like a lizard who had a fish gill, who had the emergence of some type of mechanism that it could walk on land. And what we're doing is we're breaking the structure and we're becoming the fish that goes back into water and back into water and back in. And that's okay because we can still help people and we can still be in the world and all of that. I don't know about you, but I asked for the big guns. And I think to a certain degree, you guys are asking for it too. It's just you're trying to justify how you're going to get there based on how it fits into the 3D right now. Like I hear so many of you go, I'm not ready. I am definitely going to be in the spiritual investor mastermind, but I'm not ready. Really? Who's saying that? I think that we spend most of our life retreating, actually. I did a hypno breathwork session 2 days ago where I was taken 20 minutes from my own death. And that's one of the things that I saw, and you may have seen this too, is that we spend most of our life not actually doing anything that has anything to do with what we truly want. And then we make it fit in the pretty picture of what's already gone, what is already going on. And I did a whole podcast episode on this. And I also talked about this in the recent live workshop, which is we spend most of our life waiting. And so waiting is its own form of retreating. Source would never wait. So if you're waiting, you know you're not operating from source. So I want you, if this resonates with you, to know that nothing is costing you more than time. Nothing. That is your greatest cost and your greatest sacrifice. And time has no jurisdiction over you until you agree to it. Now, when I say time, like, sure, I have something I need to do in 30 minutes. That's not what I'm talking about. In fact, I wish we had a different word for that. That's just the same thing as any other 3D world element that allows us to exist. That's no different than putting gas in a car. When I say time, the way that it has integrated itself into our life, is something that is a diminishment, or that we don't do properly, or that means something about us, you know? When you say that you need more time in order to learn how to expand money, like, how could that ever be truth? When you say that you need more time in order to become more open, to live more of your life in money neutrality, because money will come to you in a more effortless way, more money, how can you say that you need more time? Everything around us right now is just our modern day yogi school, and you're your best first investment. And it used to be that information was what we invested in, but there's no value in an encyclopedia anymore, right? We're not looking for information. We're looking for accessibility. And the accessibility, let's just use the mastermind. It's the accessibility isn't actually me. It's the accessibility to you. And it just so happens to be a structure that you would access that through, but not until you believe in it. You have to be energetically on board, as I said at the beginning, for it to be a part of you. And actually, I do believe that is why it's so effective. I do believe that, because I spend the first 2 weeks going, like, cleaning the slate. Like, you literally break the structure in a way that you are looking back at yourself and blinking and going, whoa. And then I really don't say anything. Because what happens is, who steps onto the stage is you. And then once that version steps on the stage, then I can come in and say something to you. Time is not linear in the energetic world. Time is dynamic, and everything operates in the universe in patterns. And so the way that I teach, and I had this conversation actually at the beginning of the mastermind, the very first day, is you're probably going to buck the system here a little bit, because it's not going to be the design that you think it is. And you didn't pay me this money to be your friend. And midway through, when we start to have the, God, the market's gone up 30% in the last 6 months. So anybody who's been in the last 2 masterminds has been lucky as a duck, right? But even with that, anyone, and this is any container, by the way, or any conversation, anyone that can walk out of something and be closer to knowing who they are, that's the value that we're looking for in the world today. And I will share with you one of the things that I see that you could start to look at now. And I see this in myself, which is, sometimes I'll go into a situation with assumptions, and they're very subtle. I think I'm being open, but what's happening is I'm in the conversation and I'm listening to what someone is saying, and what they're saying gives me evidence of what I think I already know. And what's happening in that, besides me energetically pulling myself back, again, sometimes I don't realize it in the moment, what's happening is the person that I'm speaking to, and this is typically someone very close to me, isn't given the opportunity to actually connect with me through love and meet me where I am, because I'm not listening to them. And so once you start to understand fundamentally how things really work in the world of energy, in a way that's not just conceptual, but that you can go out and you can apply in your life when you're talking to your partner or your mother or your child, then what happens is you're actively, as a practice, calibrating yourself in a new way. And when you show up in your relationship with money, doing this and applying this, money is just a reflection of you. So you can see how there's no choice. It is law that more money will come into your life. Because as you are calibrating and learning to listen and to drop your assumptions and to be more open, you're also at the same time learning how to receive. Because that's what keeps a lot of money from people. There are people who can make a lot of money, but they're not wealthy. They don't have financial freedom to the level that they don't have to think about money anymore. Financial freedom is not an amount. That's why I say, don't ever wait to invest or to join the mastermind or to do anything because of the amount of money that you have or don't have. It doesn't matter if you're in debt. It doesn't matter if you say, I don't have the money to invest. It's the path. It's the path that you're looking for. And once you're on the path, you'll gain the momentum. And that's what really counts. And so when I am in this conversation with these assumptions, and you do this with your money, you make assumptions about your money. Like, you've already decided deep down how much money you're going to make doing X, Y, and Z. If you really, really just sit, you'll feel that. You'll feel that decision, there's an agreement that you've made with yourself. Oh, I'm going to make $3,000 because I'm doing this. I have this offer and this audience and this blah, 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 right? Well, that's what you're in a relationship with. You're in a relationship with your assumption, no different than you're in a relationship with your assumption when you're going into a conversation and you already know that this person's not going to meet your needs in the way that you want them to. Well, they can't meet your needs because all they're dealing with is your assumption, not you. And that's the same thing with money. It can't get in because it can't get beyond what you've already agreed to. And so you've probably heard me talk about this before, that wealth is positioning. You can't actually receive something if you're not standing in the place when the opportunity comes in, right? You understand that, right? Like, Oprah knocks on your door, you don't have the book written. Well, Oprah just knocked on your door and walked away. And so that is the lion's share of why people aren't wealthy. It's not because you need money to make money. It's because you're not actually creating your life now to be the invite, because you're so worried about what you don't have. So shifting you into the frequency of where you're creating the invite and you're creating your new world. And then you looking at that and going, wow, this feels great. And you know why it feels great? Because it's new. And when it's new, it doesn't have all this bullshit baggage and regret and all this conditioning that's attached to it. If we had half a brain on how to live in the world of energy, we would realize that all you have to do is just create new. Because when you create new, it doesn't have the past. And so when you are positioned in a way to invite in new, then when the market goes down, which is today's Saturday, it just happened yesterday, the market went down. I had 3 accounts that I knew I wanted to buy stocks in, and I went in, boom, 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 bought in all 3 of those accounts. I already knew the stocks that I was going to buy. In fact, this is the same stocks I've been buying. Now, I was positioned to do it. And so that's exactly why, that's even why I'm here talking to you. If I hadn't bought real estate back after the financial crisis in San Diego, that it wouldn't have created the foundation that I have now. Sure, I've done very well in the stock market, but it's like, what you're really going for is positioning yourself in various different ways so that you can reap the benefit of various asset classes when the opportunity is presented to you. This next mastermind, we're going to be incorporating crypto a lot more, because there's a merging of the financial system, political system, and digital currency that's going on right now that I've gotten into really heavily within the groups. But there are 5 assets right now that you need to be positioned in order to allow in. And there's things that you can be doing to set your structure up so that you're just ready to, boom, locked and loaded. And like I said, it has nothing to do with money. It has to do with you being able to receive. Because you are the value exchange. That's all there is. It's just an energetic exchange. That's the currency. And you're just getting monetary recognition for it. So, You have access as a function of your truth, and your truth gets replaced as a self-expression of who you are on the new frequency. And that new frequency is you living through these opportunities because you're positioned, rather than what most people do, which is just talk about what they want. The mastermind is a living, breathing structure, allowing you and supporting and holding you with love and guidance on that frequency for 12 weeks so that you can actually feel it and live it and be it. And then you don't need, there are people that join multiple, they just keep going in the mastermind and join more rounds, but you might not even need that. It depends on how vertical you go. I want you, no matter what, I want you to be the living, breathing, happy, free self-expression of what you want. And I want you to know that, yes, it involves money, but it's not about money. It's actually just about freedom. And money just happens to be part of that. I want you to be that in between now and the end of the year, however that looks for you, because I don't want you to just be talking about it at Christmas this year. And I also want you to know, I'm going to just say this last thing, that you can live outside of time. So 3 months can be the equivalent of 3 years if you are harnessing momentum. That's the key. All right. So much love to you. If you want to know anything more about the mastermind, send an email, team@elizabethralph.com, or just join us here on the next podcast. If you want to just keep going and just keep going deeper, follow me on Instagram, whatever works for you. So much love to you, and thank you for doing what you do. See you next time.